Hey everyone, alright, back with another movie review finally, but this one's going to be kind of a special movie review, alright, let me explain. A little while ago I did a review, after I saw it in theaters this past summer, of The Amazing Spider-Man, okay, and I'm actually going to be redoing that review right now, and this is the reason why. I really wasn't too happy with it, because I watched it in theaters on opening day, and immediately when I got home, I reviewed it, and that's not good. When you're reviewing a movie, you need to wait a little while to give it time to sink in. In that review, I think I was praising it too well, because it doesn't deserve as much praise as I gave it, alright? And really, after thinking about it a little while. So that's why I'm going to be redoing it. I just wasn't too happy with it. I want to give it the review and rating I feel it truly deserves, which is not as good as I originally gave it, okay? So yeah, that's the reason why I'm redoing the review and everything, and blah blah blah. Just checking here, need to check my camera every now and then to make sure it doesn't cut out on me, because I already have a video on here, and because no more of the videos I'm recording will fit on my computer, I need to expand my hard drive pretty soon. Anyways, let's move on here. So, the movie is supposedly supposed to be a reboot, although I call it a remake, for two reasons. I'll explain them right now. Alright, one, it's not, a reboot is for an entire franchise, and this wasn't for an entire franchise. This was remaking the first fucking movie, okay? You can tell, okay? Secondly, reboots generally don't have sequels, and there's a sequel for this movie scheduled sometime in 2014, I think it is. So yeah, that's why I'm calling it a fucking remake, okay? That being said, let's actually get into the review now. The way I'm going to do this review is kind of compare certain aspects of this movie to Spider-Man 1 by Sam Raimi. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I already reviewed all three of the Sam Raimi movies, but I fucking loved every single one of them. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie of all time, period. Now, let's just move on. Alright, first off, let's compare the characters. And if we're going to compare the characters, let's compare the main character first, which would be Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. In the Sam Raimi film, he was played by Tobey Maguire, and in this film, he was played by Andrew Garfield. Now, there's no question, I honestly prefer Tobey Maguire over Andrew Garfield. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying that Andrew Garfield did a bad job at his role, because he didn't. He did a really good job, and honestly, I really love both of them, but I prefer Tobey Maguire just because I feel he's a little bit more realistic in the role in terms of his acting skills. Whereas, you know, Andrew Garfield at times, it felt like he was kind of forcing his dialogue to me. Okay? And now, I honestly don't care about what they look like, because, as I've said before, Peter Parker has had so many fucking looks over in the comics as the illustrators for him changed, that there's really no definitive look that Peter Parker has. Okay, so I don't really care about that shit. And yes, I've read every single fucking issue of the comics to date. So, yeah, don't even try to fucking argue with me about this, okay? I'm a Spider-Man fanboy, so, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I do prefer Tobey Maguire in the role, but Andrew Garfield still did a really great job. I think it was a good casting choice, okay? Now let's get to the main love interest. Sam Raimi, when he made his trilogy, introduced Mary Jane instead of Gwen Stacy. He did introduce Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man 3 briefly as kind of like a subplot type thing, but really the main focus was Mary Jane. Whoever the fuck directed this thing, I don't even remember. Hold on a sec. Mark Webb. Oh, apparently it was produced by Avi Arad and Laura Ziskin, just like in the Sam Raimi trilogy. Nice. Yeah. So, but in this movie, Mark Webb decided to have Gwen Stacy. Mary Jane was played by Kirsten Dunst, and Gwen Stacy in this movie was played by Emma Stone. Now, in terms of women in general, I've always preferred Mary Jane. First off, Gwen Stacy didn't even last that fucking long in the comics anyway. She was killed off awfully quickly by Spider-Man. It may have been an accident, but still. And also, I think the reason why Sam Raimi chose Mary Jane is because she was the most notable character. I mean, she was the most notable woman in the Spider-Man comics. She was the one that stuck. And yeah, I mean, in reality, Peter Parker's had several love interests. He had Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, Betty Brant. I think he even went out with Black Cat for a little while. And I'm sure there's ones that I'm missing, but Mary Jane's really the one that stuck, and I agreed with it. That being said, I'm not against this movie having Gwen Stacy. Honestly, when I first went into it, I thought that Gwen Stacy was played by the same woman who played her in Spider-Man 3. I'm not even kidding. Well, apparently not. I don't remember who that was, but this is Emma Stone. And I mean, in terms of acting style, in terms of acting skills, I think both Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone did a great job playing their respective roles. I just prefer Mary Jane personally. All right. And there is, before I get into another major character, there is one character that I thought was kind of funny was in there, which was Captain George Stacy, Gwen's father, who was played by Dennis Leary. Oh my god! At first, when I first looked into it before it came out, I thought he was playing the villain, but no, he played Captain Stacy. I mean, that was such a bad casting choice, but well, at least that's what I thought at first, but he actually played his role very believably. I'm impressed, and Dennis Leary is one of my favorite comedians ever, okay? But he played his role believably, and I'm really impressed with him, okay? Yeah, I'm really impressed, and it was actually kind of sad when he died near the end of the film, okay? You know, and of course he has a lot of catchy one-liners, you know, the type of comedy that he's usually pretty common for, especially like whenever he acts, because he acts quite a bit. Yeah, that's just kind of a neat thing they did there, which I thought I'd bring up. Now to another major character. Alright, Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben in the first movie was played by Cliff Robertson. That's right. And in this movie, he was played by Martin Sheen. I have no idea if he has any connection to Charlie Sheen or not, but if he does, then kick ass. But anyways, honestly, I have no complaints with either one of them. Well, I do have one complaint with Martin Sheen's, with Ben in this movie, but I'll get that in just a sec. In general, they both played their parts perfectly. I have no complaints on how they played their parts. Okay? Of course, nostalgia would tell me just go with Cliff Robertson, but logic would dictate they both played their parts perfectly. Well done to both of them, okay? In general, Martin Sheen's Ben was a lot stricter, actually, and even yelled at Peter at one point and whatnot, but, you know, that doesn't really matter. I actually kind of like that. But now we get into the complaint about the writing of his character. And if you're as familiar with the Spider-Man comics as I am, then you're probably familiar with the famous lines, "With great power comes great responsibility," which has been parodied up the ass so much since then, of course. For some reason, the dumbass writers... Okay, I shouldn't call them dumbass, because Stan Lee was one of the writers, I believe, of this film, but why did they not include those lines? I mean, I know it seems like kind of a minor thing, but it's really not, because those lines, that phrase, "with great power comes great responsibility," is the only reason Spider-Man existed in the first place. So there was no excuse for not including them, okay? No excuse at all. And yeah, it was just lazily written, I think, for them to not include it. Plus, you know, Uncle Ben's death was lazily written in the first place. He just was shot on the street and that's it, you know. I mean, they didn't really I don't think they really put any thought into it. I think they just wanted to kill off the character for some reason, which is not the way you're supposed to do things if you're writing a remake to Spider-Man 1. Okay? And, you know, there's other things I think they should have included in this movie, too, that I'll mention later on. Okay. That I'll mention later on. Now let's get to Aunt May. Here's a major problem I have. In the first movie, she was played by Rosemary Harris. And in this movie, she was played by Sally Field. Holy fuck. Sally Field did a terrible job. I'm just going to come right out and say it. Excuse me. In my opinion, Sally Field did a terrible job at it. She just brought no life into the character whatsoever. Rosemary Harris was so fantastic as Aunt May in the Spider-Man trilogy. Sally Field just felt dry to me. Okay? Honestly. And I'm not going to blame that on her either. She was definitely trying to act. I blame it on the writers. As much as I love Stan Lee, he was one of the writers, so I have to blame it on him partially too. Because I'm pretty sure he was. I can look at that later in just a sec here, but... yeah. It was just lazily written. I think her character was just lazily written. Honestly, I mean, you can tell that she was trying, but... I just don't think it worked out all that well, personally. Okay. Now then. Okay. Now let's talk about the main villains. In the first Spider-Man movie, it was the Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, who was played by William Dafoe. In this movie, it was the Lizard. AKA Dr. Kirk Connors, played by Rhys Ifans, or whatever. Yeah. Okay, now, first off, I just want to say this. The simple fact that they included the Lizard in this movie made the movie have potential to be my favorite movie ever made, because in terms of superhero villains, the Lizard has always been my favorite. Whatever, and more points, of course, if it was the ultimate Lizard, but, you know. Still, it's a Lizard nonetheless. But there's so much about the Lizard that they royally fucked up. Okay? And I'll talk about this as I get into it. Now, in terms of villains, as I just said, the Lizard's my favorite. Now, I'm going to compare him to someone else, because Kirk Connors was in the Spider-Man trilogy. Or at least he was referenced in the first movie and actually... an actor in 2 and 3. The one who played him in 2 and 3 was Dylan Baker, and I think they should have at least tried to get Dylan Baker for this, because I just did not like this actor at all as Connors. I'm sorry, this is just my opinion, but I just did not like him at all as... Alright, but that's just minor compared to the other complaints that I have about him. I mean, first off, one of the biggest complaints I have about this movie is, why are the Osborns not in it? Why is Connors the head of fucking Oscorp? It's called Oscorp because it was headed by... it was founded and run by Dr. Kirk Connors. I mean, by Norman Osborn. And later on it was taken over by his son, Harry Osborn. But neither of those two are even in this fucking movie. And it just baffles me as to why. I mean, they never explain this at all, okay? That's definitely one of my biggest complaints about this movie. Now let's get back into the Lizard in general. First off, let's think about how the Lizard looks. I just want to say first, though, that the CG effects on the Lizard look surprisingly good. I'm not going to lie. The CG effects on the Lizard were awesome, okay? They really were. But that's about all that I can... Okay, everyone, sorry about that. My camera cut out on me, of course. So did find a way to remove all the videos from my camera. I'm not going to re-record this, obviously. I'll just connect this part to the end of that video. Anyways, let's get back in here. Like I said before, it cut out on me like that. The lizard effects are awesome. That's all I can fucking praise about the lizard, okay? Here's my first complaint about the lizard. Where the fuck is his trademark lab coat? I mean, that's his trademark. Was there any fucking reason for him to not fight in that? I know you're probably thinking I'm rather nitpicky now, and you're probably going to call me a hypocrite for how much I complain about people that complain about about Venom in Sam Raimi's trilogy. But I'm actually just really complaining about the lizard's not wearing his lab coat out of sheer irony. Because, you know, the way I see it, if you guys can complain about something as trivial and minor as fucking Venom, who was actually one of my least favorite villains in the entire Marvel Universe, mind you, personally, then I can complain about something as trivial and stupid as his lab coat. It's his trademark. You don't want that away now, do you? Another thing, and this is my biggest complaint about the entire movie. Well, okay, it's probably tied with another complaint that I'll get to later on. But it's a pretty big complaint that I have. Dr. Connors enjoys being the lizard. What the fuck were they smoking? Dr. Connors is not supposed to enjoy being the lizard. He's supposed to be a tragic villain. He's supposed to turn into the lizard and despise it and be grateful whenever Spider-Man saves him from it. But here, he fucking enjoys being a lizard. What the fuck? That was kind of weird. Anyways. Oh, I mean, there is another thing I like about the lizard. It was kind of unique, his plan to, like, spray this serum or something into the atmosphere so it would come down and rain and turn everyone else in New York City into his lizard minions. That was actually really original. And they took part of that plot for the game that story is supposed to take place after this movie that came out before it, though, for some reason. That was actually really cool. I like that. I don't recall that anywhere in the fucking comics. And I really like that. But that was a huge fucking complaint of mine about the lizard. Alright, and now, while we're still talking about characters, let's talk about characters I felt should have been in it. As I already mentioned, the Osborns should have definitely been in it. It never once fucking explains why the Osborns don't own Oscorp and instead Connors does, okay? So, yeah. Now, other characters I felt should have been in it, well, or companies in general, was the Daily Bugle. I really felt that the Daily Bugle should have been in this movie, okay? I mean, you know, and obviously obviously J. Jonah Jameson, alright? In the Spider-Man trilogy, he was played by J.K. Simmons. Now, if they decide to include Jameson in the next movie, well, first off, it would be fucking awesome if they could get J.K. Simmons to play the role, but I highly doubt that will ever happen in a trillion fucking years. But if they choose to have Jameson in the next movie, whatever actor they choose should not try to imitate Simmons, because he will fail horribly and he will suck at his role. He should just do his own thing. I like it way more if he does his own thing than try to imitate J.K. Simmons, because J.K. Simmons was perfect in the role, period. I rarely ever say anything is perfect, but he was perfect in the role. No one will ever fucking surpass him. So it's pointless to even fucking try, okay? Another thing I hope that they include in the next movie is Mary Jane. Maybe Gwen Stacy's death, and then Mary Jane gets involved with Peter. Black Cat would be another really cool thing, but I'm getting off track here. Yeah, anyways, I guess that's really all to talk about the characters. There's things they did right, and things they did were horribly fucking wrong. I guess it's really almost done with the movie. As for the music, it was really well done. The cinematography looked really good. I do have one more complaint about the movie, though. And that is Peter Parker's transformation into Spider-Man just seemed rather unnatural to me. And what I mean is that I think they paced it way too fast, okay? I mean, he gets bit by the spider, that's all the same obviously. But it's like shortly after he gets bit by the spider, he's already used to being Spider-Man, and that's just incredibly fucking unnatural. Spider-Man 1, aside from obviously fighting crime and defeating the Green Goblin, was about Spider-Man getting used to his powers. It happened over the course of the movie, not in 5 fucking minutes, okay? I mean, it just seemed really unnatural to me, and that's why, and that's definitely going to hurt this movie score for me. Other than that, though, I really don't have any other complaints, but that's not saying a lot considering I've already had a lot of fucking complaints. I just think they should have put more time into this movie, okay? I mean, the movie, I don't think went that much over 2 hours long. And hold on a second, I'm going to check something here real quick. Just want to see if Stan Lee really did help write it. It's not, I can't find it, whatever, but yes, the runtime, 1 hour, or, no, 1 hour, 136 minutes, that's not even 2 hours, I don't think. 60 minutes in an hour, no, that's not even 2 hours. They could have easily extended it to 2 hours, or hell, I would have been fine with 3 hours if they would have just added some more things in there. In general, very few movies deserve to be 3 hours long. That's true. But I would have been perfectly fine with it if they would have added more things in there, explained things. Another complaint I actually do have with the movie is that they hinted around Peter Parker's parents, but they never really explained it. And I think I know why they didn't explain some of this shit. It's one of those wait for the sequel type of movies where we'll explain everything you want to know in the fucking sequel. And that is ass backwards, okay? Any good director knows that when you're making a movie, make every movie like it's your last. Because when it comes to movies, there's never any guarantee that it's going to be a success. Alright, so that's why I think they should have explained everything here. I think they're kind of lucky that it is having a fucking sequel. But that's just me. Anyways, I think I'm done ranting about this movie. I mean, it did a lot of things right, but it also did so many fucking things wrong, and I'm glad that I could do this reduxed version of the review just to explain things a little bit better and give it what I feel is proper rating. I'm going to score it at 5.3 out of 10. If you're not really Spider-Man, if you've never really done anything with Spider-Man before and you're on the fence, I'd say at least give it a rent. Watch it through. If you like it, you can buy it. If not, you can just not worry about it anymore. You know, but if you're a hardcore Spider-Man fan, like I am, you've probably already seen it. Okay, and yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say in this review. Remember to rate, subscribe, do all the good stuff. See you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.